please give ourselves a round of applause, please. So today, I will be introducing our next speaker. Angelica P. Walton is a 2019 graduate of UAPB from Hot Springs, Arkansas. She's a current citizen of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, where she and her husband are co-owners of a marketing and production company called K&C Media. The goal is to create films that change the narrative of our communities, shed light on important issues, as well as inspire hope and confidence. In addition, they serve their community by leveraging the power of storytelling to engage audiences and create impact for local small businesses and organizations. Angelica has gone viral several times, gaining international attention for her positive perspective of Pine Bluff, a place she considers the new Black Wall Street. Her efforts have led to several business inquiries from companies considering the Pine Bluff location, a tour from Tennessee, and multiple families moving into the city. She hopes to remind people that they can be the change they want to see in their communities with a little audacity, faith, and discipline. So please give her a warm welcome.
Talk to cameras, so this is a little switch up for me, but I was a business finance major at UAPB. I did not actually know what I wanted to major in. I'm the oldest of 5. My mom's a single mother, so the funds were a little low. I had so much fun though when I was a senior in high school saving up for my car, because my mom wasn't going to be able to give one to me. And in the process of buying my car, I had this idea that, maybe if we have more financial literacy in the Black community, people like my mom would be able to afford to give her daughter a car. So that's why I majored in business finance. Catch my breath. So I came to the university majoring in finance, and I had this awesome professor. Do you guys know Dr. King is still on the yard? Business finance? Well, anyways, here's my professor. This man is the bomb.com, y'all. He was a graduate of Stanford University in California. He grew up during a time when it was like the Black Panthers, and he was like, smack dab in where they were. And what I really enjoyed about him was, with all of his achievements and the things that he knew, he was extremely passionate about teaching the next generation to give back to their community. People said this man was a millionaire. We didn't even know if he was or not. We did know he had property in Atlanta. And so while I'm in his classes, I'm just getting all kinds of ideas, and I'm so inspired by the fact that he chose to come to UAPB, and he could have been anywhere. So then I think, maybe I want to be an attorney. Maybe we need more justice in our communities. So then I started to study President Barack Obama, and I was interested in how before he went to law school, he stayed in Chicago a little bit learning about the community. And so when I graduated UAPB, I thought, I'll do the same thing. I'll stay in Pine Bluff for a little bit, get to know what the community needs, and then go to law school and advocate for that. And so I had no idea what I was going to do when I graduated. I don't even know how I met this man, but his name is Mr. Sam Glover. Y'all know Mr. Glover? He's awesome. And he gave me a job. I was just part-time at Parks. Later, I became a special projects coordinator. But this was right before the pandemic, and I just knew I was going to be a famous YouTuber. Still trying, still got that camera, hasn't happened. But I wanted to document my journey to law school. While I was doing this, Mr. Glover goes, "You got that camera, you start creating content for the parks." And I'm like, no, I want to be a YouTuber. Then boom, pandemic hit. And that content was like one of the main ways we could connect with the community. So fast forward, I wasn't able to stay at Parks. I started to work for CED, but then I realized this content is actually really impacting people. We made content about a man who, he did I forget what you call it. It's like vinyl painting. He did a rap at the community center. The community loved to see that. This man, I think his name is Mr. Sherrod Dixon. He's a native of Pine Bluff, and he used his talents to help beautify the city. When I saw people really connected with that, another light bulb went off. So then I met my husband, and he already had his company. He was a trucker. And he showed me his paperwork. And before him, I'd heard of people who were entrepreneurs. And I was like, that's for people, other people, not for me. When I saw his paperwork, I was like, I could do this too. And so with the combination of my passion for the Black community, me wanting to be a YouTuber, learning about, editing and making videos, and then seeing that this man had his own business, I felt like I could do it too. And so that is how I got into the field of media. So we're trying to practice, we want to be filmmakers, so we're just making random videos for people, right? And I feel like a great way to get practice is social media. We all want to create content. So one day, right down here, before the street was paved, I asked my husband, I said, hey, I'm just gonna walk down the street, can you record me? And this was when they were rebuilding downtown. There weren't any light poles, there weren't any trees, it looked a mess. And so, but I always could see the vision. Let me rewind a little bit. I had an amazing experience serving as Miss 89th University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Thank you. And in that position, I got to connect with so many of the elders in this community, the pillars in this community. And when I tell you guys that there are some amazing stories in this community, that's something else that fueled me. So when he recorded me walking down the street, that's when I was like, I'm walking in the new Black Wall Street. And at the time it looked crazy, guys, like the road wasn't even paved. And so I think people were like, what is she talking about? And that is something that kind of helped people gain interest, because it was like, it looks crazy. And this girl is saying this is the new Black Wall Street. From that moment, it really reinforced that we kind of had something. And I'll let that kind of lead into what I want to talk about next. With our business, being a media company, wanting to be aspiring filmmakers, storytelling is like the key in everything we do. Whether it's storytelling for a business, sharing the impact that business with their products or services has on their clients, or if it's storytelling about where Pine Bluff was and where it can be, story is everything. But when we pair story with meeting a need, then you just have this beautiful combination that happens. And what I have discovered, and what I am discovering, is that there is a need in communities like Pine Bluff, not just Pine Bluff, communities like Pine Bluff. They want to see themselves in positive ways. They want to be reminded of the good things about them. They want to feel hopeful too. They don't want to just hear who passed away. That's very sad, God rest their souls. But that's not all these cities are. And so that's where a lot of my work comes from. I just wanted to share my story because I remember when I was in school, the biggest question I had was, am I going to be okay? And as you guys matriculate and you finish school and you figure out what's next, you are going to be okay. The one thing that's going to give you the most power is when you really lean into your story. What's hurt you? What's helped you? What are you insecure about? What do you love about yourself? Because guess what? Most people love those things about themselves and struggle with the same things that you struggle with too. And so tapping into that, no matter what field you're in, no matter what story you're telling, it's going to take you very, very far. So I hope that is encouraging, and I'm open to any questions.
So when you work with businesses and people around the city, how do you write something like a inquiry form or something to them? How do you reach out to get your brand noticed for people to even want you to want to work with you?
That's a good question. So I'm going to answer that with a story. So we just got a client. I don't want to name y'all, but they're kind of big. And we pitched to them in 2021, and they told us no. Before we even left the room, one of the people in the room actually laughed at us. And then now we're working for them. And so, long story short, persistence. One thing, my husband, unfortunately, he didn't finish school. And I always talk about him, not to sound like Beyonce and Jay-Z or nothing, because she always talks about her man. But anyway, my husband, with him not finishing school, or recently he just shared with the world that he actually had did time before. And he's one of those people that a lot of people would write off. And I have been fortunate to be someone that people might consider have made it or, has his achievements. And one thing my husband always tells me is, no matter what anybody thinks of you, no matter who don't like you, do the work. Be the best at whatever you do. And so even when those people laughed at us when we left out the room, we're like, okay, maybe we're just not as good as we think we are. Painful to admit that to yourself, but once you do that, now you can look at all the areas like, okay, dang, this color grade needs to be a little bit more contrasted. Dang, forgot to bring the light. Dang, we didn't bring the windscreen for this audio, And you keep making those mistakes, and then next thing you know, you never make those again. Because you got tired of making them before, you didn't want anyone to give that a reason, let that be a reason why you couldn't get the job. So persistence and then work on yourself and keep putting out the work. I think I was telling you earlier, even as you guys do events and people don't show up, it's okay. Because if you can get to the place where you're like, I don't care who likes this, I don't care who's coming, I'm doing it. You're gonna get better. And eventually you're gonna get the attention of the people that you're trying to reach, and it won't matter if they like you, they're gonna like your work. And so that's what we really focus on.
So you mentioned how you do a lot, you own a business, you do photography, you go on to do filmmaking, and then you have clients. How do you balance it?
So I was actually telling you earlier, I don't really know that I balance it. I just keep going, I also have a little boy, he's 1, he's getting into everything. All I can do is just keep going and try to make sure that the next step I take, keep in mind the mistakes I just made and trying to make them. And it's okay if you keep making mistakes, but I think that the quicker you can really examine the mistakes you're making, the quicker you can move past that. I kind of believe that lessons repeat themselves until you learn them. So don't be embarrassed about your flaws, really soak them in and be like, okay, I know what to do now.
Alright, so you mentioned that you were the oldest of the single.
Yes.
So what are some things that you took from that experience that helped you with your life as you were on that single?
Oh, that is a good question. Responsibility. Even if it's not technically my fault, I'm gonna find how it could have been. And that's gonna help me always continue to improve. And I'm actually really glad that you asked me that, because I think that is a secret weapon. It's painful to really look at yourself, but I find that people who avoid that kind of have a harder time getting past that. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. We are all flawed in some area. So having that, a lot of times whenever my siblings get on my nerves, I might want to hit them back, fight them back. My mom be like, you're the oldest, you know better. Don't tell me that. They just took my clothes. I worked hard for them, But to this day, it sticks with me. Even when someone might be disrespectful, or I feel like they're not recognizing something about me, and maybe I think I should have got that recognition. Well, dang. Okay, why didn't I get it? I'm able to be more honest with myself because I didn't have a choice growing up. So I hope that answers your question.
Can you give a little bit more depth when you were Miss UAPB on campus and the support that you had and any memorable experiences?
Yes. Thank you for that question. I was extremely supported as Miss UAPB. And if I'm being honest, it was just God. Because behind closed doors, y'all, I was a hot mess, okay? I was praying every day before I left my dorm, like, Lord, please help me to be okay when I leave this room. I had so many emotions and things going on, but one thing that I hope really did stick with people was that I genuinely love UAPB, okay? I didn't think I was gonna go to UAPB because I'm from Hot Springs. And Hot Springs is probably the exact opposite of Pine Bluff as far as Arkansas communities go. Hot Springs is called the Spa City. The demographics, completely different, you know what I'm saying? So, just being honest, when I was in high school, my recruiter, Cece, is she still in the yard? Cece Colzar? Well, anywho, she was my recruiter. She's a white AKA. She came to Hot Springs. And I'm like, Cece, I don't know how many times you come, I'm not going to that ghetto school. And she didn't give up on me though. But I said that to say that was honestly my mindset in Hot Springs. I can laugh at it now, but I didn't want to be associated with blackness, if that makes sense. But when I came to UAPB, immediately when I stepped on the campus, my tour ended in the museum. I was just amazed at how much history. The first African American to have a college degree, graduated from UAPB, I think it was called A&M back in the day. You know, that's stuff that people don't really talk about, but that person really paved the way for all of us that are going to get degrees, and even people who are impacted by people who have degrees. You know, stories like that coming from a person, on top of me being almost always one of the only ones in spaces that I was in Hot Springs. My mom was adopted, and her adopted family was not very nice to her. So we were always around white churches. I had white, I felt like, what's the dude's name, Mowgli in the Jungle Book? Like, I'm a black person, but like, what was a Catfish Friday? I didn't know nothing about sororities. I literally, this UAPB in Pine Bluff, I felt like embraced me, and it gave me that family I always wanted. It gave me the cousins I always wanted. And that is something that I hope really shine through all my flaws and mistakes as queen. I wanted to pour back into a university that gave so much to me in ways that it probably will never even be able to understand. But my experience as Miss UAPB also helped me in business, because I learned that heavy is the crown, and you still better hold your head up high. Don't let that crown fall. I learned keep people first. You know, a lot of times when you're doing business, it can be easy to get caught up in the profit, because you gotta make money and you gotta pay your bills. But if you're not good to people, nothing else matters, you know? So that's a few of the lessons and the support I had. I can't put into words.
Okay. So I know that you and your husband have worked with other entrepreneurs and things in your field. Can you talk about how there's always room for your business in any field that you work in?
Absolutely. So in a community like Pine Bluff needs businesses. One reason that Pine Bluff needs businesses is because communities are funded with tax dollars. So if a business is making money, they have to pay taxes to that community. So there's always going to be room for, let's say, another marketing agency or another production agency, because that's going to be more tax dollars going into the city. But on top of that, Pine Bluff needs a lot of people to help change this narrative. So I don't think there can be too many photographers, too many filmmakers, too many marketing agencies, because we're all hopefully doing the same thing, showing the beautiful things in this community and showing ways that people can, do more for themselves. But even if we weren't in Pine Bluff, I think spiritually there has to be a balance of the scales. And I think that we find ourselves working with other people who have the same mission, so hopefully we're trying to tip those scales in the right direction. I hope that answers your question.
My question is, as storytellers, sometimes at the start of the story, it all makes sense. But in the middle of the story, it's like it does not make sense at all whatsoever. What was I thinking in the beginning? How do you see a story through? Are you able to share that?
Faith. That's all I can say. If I'm being transparent, even with me staying in Pine Bluff, there have been a lot of times, as positive as I promote, there have been so many challenges and times where I'm like, okay, God, I thought I heard from you, but, the dollars are not making sense right now. And I just have to pray, and that's like my only answer. I don't know how I could do it if I didn't have faith.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I'm also an entrepreneur as well. I have a business called Elevated Vision, where we do digital marketing for business influencers and entrepreneurs. I also want to, because I also realize that there's a lack of financial literacy in the Black community, but being a business owner, trying to help people and also make a profit, is there any tips or anything that you can?
I'm so sorry. Honestly, once again, faith. Even with the story I shared earlier, there was a time. This is while I was going viral on TikTok, and there was a point when I was on TikTok. Now I barely get any likes, but there was a time when I was on TikTok when every video I posted was going better. At the same time, we're trying to talk to different businesses. They're like, we don't need marketing. You're kind of young. And so while this is happening, I had a part-time job and my contract ran out the same time I was pregnant. When I tell y'all I was so scared because my contract just ran out. I'm pregnant and none of these businesses are biting. The only answer I have is faith, but again, stay persistent. Stay persistent. Even while you're praying, even while you're trying to help people and you're not getting money, keep working on your craft. Because another thing that has also happened for us, if the people around you don't see what you're doing, but your work is getting better, somebody's gonna see that. And then if somebody else sees that and they're not around you, for some reason it makes people around you look at you a little differently, you know what I'm saying? So just keep working on your craft, you know, always build yourself up, and I believe that God will provide.
So would you say that, like, especially starting off doing things for free is vital?
I think so, absolutely. Especially in a community like Find Love, and I know that you guys may graduate and go to different communities, but let's say you guys, I see you're going to Chicago. Sure, my husband's from Chicago too. In a community like Chicago, you know, we keep hearing this conversation about the wealth gap, right? It's true. Black people just do not have the same kind of money that other communities have. It's a big reason why we do what we do. We try to use storytelling to boost economies, you know, so we can all get a little bit of that. But if your people don't have it and you're trying to make a difference, you don't want to let that stop you, you know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, people are a little bit more gracious with you with free work. If you get a check and you make mistakes, you know what I'm saying? So you definitely want to get those free clients and get that experience and practice, all of that. Yes, ma'am.
One of the speakers the other day said that by his presence on social media and the things that he was doing, a couple of opportunities, business opportunities, job opportunities came to him, looking for him, because he had been consistent in showing up even when he didn't want to. Can you tell us about some times when you maybe not wanted to show up and steady will continue to show up? And I've seen a lot of your content, and I appreciate the positivity and the enlightenment that you are bringing to Crime Love to change the narrative other than Crime Love.
Thank you. I think that I see creating content as like an investment. I will have content that will go viral months after I share it. Or I will have content that like barely gets any engagement, but the one person who saw it wanted more of it. Things like that kind of keep me going. And then we're in a digital space now for all of you who may want to be on social media, maybe you're not yet, you're thinking about it. You have to really earn people's trust now because everybody's creating content. And that keeps me going because I know that I might share something and it might not get any traction for a couple of days. But if I keep going, that person's going to be able to look at all of my content and they're going to be like, okay, I can trust her. And now that turns into followers or likes, if that's what you're into. But I don't think it's easy now to just get, you know, a bunch of followers from that one piece of content, so you gotta keep going.
And what's one tool that you use that you can't live without, or not necessarily live without, you can't work without, that maybe a website or a software, something that has changed things for you?
Yes, ma'am. Notion is a digital planning software. But even before I had digital planning, write everything down. I treat my ideas, I treat my thoughts like a piggy bank. And it's crazy because I might write something down for a piece of content or a business idea, and I might get busy and not be able to execute it for, sometimes years, honestly. When I go back and I have this experience and this expertise, I can still pull from that and make it even better. So aside from Notion, which is like, I use it as like a to-do list, because when you have a lot going on, there's this thing called brain fatigue, when your brain will literally get tired of making decisions. When you have a digital planner or a planner, you give your brain a little bit of a break, and that helps me to be extremely productive, which is extremely important for me being a mom, wife, business owner, and a startup business owner. When you're a startup business owner, sometimes you're going to be extremely tired because you have to go the extra mile to convince people that you are what you say you are, and then you're not getting that money yet. So you're gonna have to take a lot of jobs that may work you a little bit harder, and I'm able to do that, again, because of God, but because I'm giving my brain a little bit of a break, and I'm writing things down. I could not function if I didn't write things down.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Okay.
It's pretty much the same.
For sure.
Yeah, keep journals.
I have a planner. I don't, if it doesn't get written down, it's not getting done.
All right. I have a couple questions for you guys. You guys are in NABJ, so I hear you are an entrepreneur, going to be a marketing extraordinaire. What are some of your other aspiring careers?
I want to be like a global, well, I am eventually going to be a global PR director for like somewhere in the music and entertainment business. Really music, I have a really strong love and passion for music, so that's where I want to be. But right now I'm stuck in sports, but.
Okay.
So I'm a broadcasting major, and last summer I had an internship in Tulsa, where I'm from. I was on Black Wall Street. So growing up, I never really heard about Black Wall Street that much until I got to like middle school. Really heard about it in high school. That's when I really kind of like caught onto it. So during that whole process of me having my internship and me being around Black Wall Street and Juneteenth all those years, it made me want to be an ambassador for my community, to speak out so our history is told. So besides me wanting to be in sports broadcasting as I get older, I also want to be an ambassador for my community as well.
That's awesome.
Okay, so, sort of like his, I'm a broadcasting major. My long-term goal is to be a filmmaker. I love to write, so it's a screenwriter. I write scripts all the time because my brain is filled with ideas and stories. So I have a journal that I pretty much take with me every day because I can be walking down the street and make a story about somebody walking down the street and all of these different things happen. So I keep a journal with me all the time. So I want to be a filmmaker. That's the long-term thing. But as a storyteller and being at UAPB, I realized that I have a love for something else too, which is bringing awareness to businesses. So I found a love with that, and I want to continue that while also working in filmmaking and possibly selling a couple of my scripts or working on them. I got into short films, and I'm starting to take my camera with me again everywhere I go. So I want to start doing that again on the side. It's just, I'm very busy.
Yeah.
But I would love, that's the one. I like that.
Anyone else want to share? Looks like you've been volunteering.
Well, I'm also a multimedia communication student, and like beautiful Tamisha. I also want to be a filmmaker. My passion came from the representation with Black women, especially Black women, but the Black community in the film industry. But moreover to Black women, it's like literally 8% of us in the film industry. And probably 2 or 3% is making it big with Avery Vernay. And I also thought that as seeing the pattern of these stories centering the Black community, a lot of them are very stereotypical because they are made by a non-Black person. So when you compare that to a Black person who's making a film centering Black people, it's so authentic. And it's like these stereotypes are coming from misunderstood stories and stereotypical stories that that we're not creating, that we should be creating. So I just want to get into that and increase that percentage.
That's awesome. It looks like I'm in the right room. Yeah. So one thing I want to tell you guys 2 things. Number 1, start where you are. I heard you want to work in the sport. No, not sports. You want to be an ambassador for your community.
Yeah, sports broadcasting is like the main goal. But I also want to be an ambassador for my community as well.
Got you. You're doing great at HBCU. something that I would do is start telling the stories of the athletes on campus. Start now, and then you don't know who is number one going to go pro, but I went to school with two people. One of them works for ESPN. You guys might know Kalen. Was he in Kalon? Excuse me, Kalon. No, I don't want to say his name wrong, girl. Thank you. But, so him, and then I went to school with someone else. I think his name is Gabe. And he's doing that for I think his hometown or home state or something like that. And so, okay. I love that you guys keep up with your students. Like, get me together, please. But like, so in addition to you possibly having connections with professional athletes, when I was in school, Jamie Gillen, he was a Scottish hammer. He went pro. So in addition to having that connection, the people who are working in that industry might be able to help you as well. But you don't, sometimes I think two things in the Black community. I think sometimes we think we have to have it all together before we can even start. I can't speak to having it all together because I've never had it all together, but I can speak to starting before that. And when I tell you, your gift will always make room for you. Your gift will get you endorsed that you are not qualified for, and you will be amazed at where it takes you. That's another thing that keeps me going. But sometimes I also think, I have to say this, you guys know Afro Angie did come on to speak. But one thing that I heard a lot when I first graduated and I was working with parks, the elders in the Pine Bluff community always talked about a brain drain. You guys know what a brain drain is? A brain drain is when all of the talent in the community leaves. And I really hope that you guys hear my heart. I would never want to make anyone feel bad for chasing their dreams. I believe what God has for you is for you. Can't nobody tell you how to live your life. But I do think that sometimes in our community, we might unintentionally make those hurdles a little bit harder for ourselves. If we're constantly leaving I don't think that we wake up and think, I want to be validated by someone that doesn't look like me. I don't think we think that. I think we think, hey, they have the resources and I don't have them. I want to get those, right? But in order to get those, we have to put ourselves in positions for them to tell us that we're okay. For them to tell us that we're enough or that we're talented. And we know, we kind of create the culture. We make things cool. Where we go, the dollars follow. So what if we did what we make cool, what we bring the culture to in our communities? How much more money can we keep here? How much more can we change the schools? How much more can we change the roads? How much more could little Black girls grow up not having to worry about not seeing Black women filmmakers because they saw them in their community? So I just want to leave that with you guys. Follow your heart, chase your dreams, go to wherever you want to go. But consider that you can make that same impact right where you are. So I hope you guys have found that helpful.